Welcome to Tarmac Life. We're here for the fun toys, cars, SUVs, utes, flights, hotels, because the journey matters too, and even the odd motorbike when we feel like living dangerously. Epic drives and unforgettable experiences, all served up with plenty of banter and zero boring nonsense.
On tonight's show, Denza have landed. We head off to South Australia to check out their all-new B5 and B8 luxury off-roaders. Winter is coming. We've got some top tips to help you get your car ready for the colder months. The roads are chocker. Well, that's because March Madness is a shocker.
Sure, and thanks for joining us. This week is a little bit eclectic in our mix of products that we're going to show you, but I want to kick things off with basically a gripe, and that is indicators. Because I don't know about you, but I'm not psychic when I'm driving. I have no idea what the person in front of me is going to do. Often they go in different directions. A simple indicator, there's a little stalk that goes up and down and flashes lights either way, and it gives me a clue as to what you're doing. And I'm getting so frustrated that people don't use those little flashy lights, and that's not limited to a particular car or a particular genre or generation. It just seems to be across the board. People are not using indicators, and I want you to use indicators.
Especially when it comes down to roundabouts. It just means that big pile up of people that are waiting for someone to go across, but then they just take an indicator, take a turn and not indicate, and they just are oblivious to the impact that they're causing to other people. Terrible stuff.
Surprised that Mr. BMW had something to say about indicators, but we won't go too deep into that. But I completely agree with you guys that tell us what you're doing. You know, it makes life on the road so much more easier. It makes everybody's drive that much more peaceful, if you like, if you know what the other drivers or other road users are doing, right?
You wonder why car companies have got these indicator stalks on if people don't use them. I mean, hazard lights and stuff like that, we've already gone through waving, but indicate people, indicate.
And well, something that's signaling its arrival, you see what I did there, is BYD's luxury sub-brand Denza. And I, for once, got to put some air points on my card by taking a trip out to South Australia to drive their new B5 and B8 in the Outback. Today, you join me in Adelaide in Australia on the launch of the new Denza B5 and B8. Denza is an all-new brand to this part of the world, and these two cars are the first they're bringing out from their premium offering. Today is day one of the launch, and we're going to be driving from here in Adelaide up north, first towards Ronsley Park, and then from there to Welpena Pound. We're spending a total of about 6 hours behind the wheel of these two cars over the course of today, so stay tuned for what's to come. Now, Denza is a luxury brand or luxury sub-brand of the BYD group, and it sits above BYD. What they're bringing to our market specifically are the B5 and B8. So as you can see, B5, the smaller one, and B8 there. The two of them are meant to be luxury off-road vehicles. And Denza actually stands for, well, a lot of different values, and part of that is aspirational, which is what these two cars speak to. Both of them are kitted out with not just luxury features, but also the capability to go off-road. And we have been climbing those mountains there on sharp rocks, slippery dust and dirt, and they've just performed extremely well without stressing the drivers or passengers out even one bit, to be honest. So the brand officially began as a collaboration between Mercedes-Benz, or Daimler AG as they were called at the time, and the BYD group. So they joined forces in 2010 to create Denza, this luxury aspirational brand. Eventually, Mercedes slowly phased themselves out of it, selling all of their portion back to BYD. And the brand really started to ramp up in about 2021, where BYD had more control over the brand and its direction, and then started to invest heavily into it. And then come today, we have these two products. Now, you'll notice from some of the imagery that the logo on the back says DMO on it, and there's a very good reason for that. Now, it's a badge you would have seen before on the BYD Shark 6, and well, that Shark 6 sits on actually a platform that was developed for these two guys. So the fact that we now finally have Denza is pretty cool. And of course, they ride on that ladder frame chassis with the blade battery in between for that extra structural protection and rigidity for the vehicle. Key things to note: length, it sits at just under 5 meters, so it's about 4.89 long, just under 2 meters wide, and as you can see, fairly tall there as well. It's got a good amount of room in the back and plenty of space inside for a family of 4 or even 5, to be honest. On the top spec Leopard model, it does a Leopard turn where the wheels sort of angle and you can do like a stylish U-turn if you like. It's got a Nappa leather interior, lots of soft touch materials, big infotainment screen. It's just loaded with features. And then you take the next step up the Denza ladder over to this thing. Now the B8 is going to be available in our market in 2 different variants. So you have the 6S and the 7S. Well, key number there to look at is, well, the number of seats. So you can either have a 6-seater model with 2 captain's chairs in the middle row, or a 7-seater model with the 3 and 2 layout. So it's just over 5 meters, 5.2 meters actually in length. But again, power is up on the B5, so you get something like 425 kilowatts here, whereas that does 400 kilowatts. Both of them have plenty of torque because towing is obviously important with a vehicle like this. So this one does 3 tons of towing, whereas the B8 does 3.5 tons of brake towing. On the inside as well, its party trick is that it has what is BYD or the BYD Group's largest infotainment screen. The unit is something like 17.5 inches in the middle and is just massive sitting on the dashboard there. Continuing on the off-road theme, well, these two cars, as I mentioned before, really capable. So the B5 has a wading depth of 790 millimeters, whereas the B8 has a wading depth of 890 millimeters. On the top spec of the B5 particularly, but on all B8 models, you get the DCIS P suspension, which is essentially a hydraulically adjustable suspension setup. So it does have springs, there's no air bags or any of that. Springs plus a hydraulic system to raise that ride height or lower it according to which driving mode you select.
Introducing the all-new Subaru Forester with next generation strong hybrid and over 1,000 kilometer range. The all-new Subaru Forester. Get ready to own the road and conquer the wild. Have it all-wheel drive with Subaru.
Can you believe that summer is over already? I can't believe it. It wasn't too long ago that we used our Tarmac Torque segment to discuss a few tips and tricks on how to get your car ready for the summer road trip. And I really do hope that you got to enjoy a little bit of summer driving. Because now, as winter approaches, there are actually other things that you need to do in order to get your car and yourself in a better position to cope with the dread of winter. Big surprise that we would start a car maintenance segment talking about tires. But you would figure, right? Considering that they are literally the only thing keeping you on track while you are driving down the road. And granted, here in New Zealand we don't have the habit of changing from all-season tires to then winter tires in the majority of the country, and that's totally fine. Just making sure that whatever you are driving on is actually up for the task by ensuring that your tires are not wearing unevenly, that they are not cracked too old, and of course that you are using the right tire pressures. You can make sure that you can even extend the life of the tires that you currently get. Because wet roads are tricky enough as they are, but cold tires also get you less grip, so you really have to maximize whatever you get. And then we must talk visibility, and it'll mostly come down to these, the wipers. Back in our summer segment, we talked about how important they are while you are on the road trip because of all the bugs and everything that you get on the road. But on the winter time, they play a slightly different role because you most often than not will have to rely on these before you even start your drive by clearing all the mildew and the humidity that sits on top of your windscreen. If the wipers are not doing their job properly by not covering the whole windscreen or maybe skipping or even cracked, just replace them. You will be surprised to see quite literally the difference that they might make. And while you're at it, make sure that you also have a look at the rear one because it always gets neglected. We then get to the fella that probably suffers the most throughout this whole season, the battery. And I'm not talking about the massive high voltage one that we have here in the case of this car. I'm talking about the 12-volt battery that you get in pretty much every single car. In the cold weather, it actually slows down the chemical reactions that need to happen inside of the battery so that you can get the power that you need. And to add insult to injury, this is the part of the year where you will need it the most, when you need all that extra juice for those cold morning cranks to wake up the engine, and then of course for everything else that you will be running inside of the car to keep it just heated up, and then lights, wipers, your sound system, everything. So make sure that you regularly just pop up the bonnet, make sure that you get a good reading on the battery before you start cranking, because it's either gonna be that or you will have to go all the way back to the garage, get those jumper cables just so you can actually get to work. And then while you are under here, of course, it also pays off for you to have a look at a few specific fluids that you have under the bonnet, because the cold weather can actually take a big toll on them, namely the brake fluid. You absolutely do not want the added humidity from the environment to get mixed up with your brake fluid. This is also the place where you might find your cabin filter, and it will greatly compromise your ability to demist the cabin if it is all clogged up and blocked. Talking about the cabin, join me in there. Getting your cabin demisted and defogged in the morning before you start your drive is that never-ending debate between the people that use their heater and the people that use their air conditioning. But whatever camp that you are on, you will have to rely on good systems so that you can get that job done in, I don't know, less than 10 minutes. If you are using your heater, make sure that your core is unclogged so you can actually transfer heat from the engine to the inside. Otherwise, you will just be driving, shivering, and not seeing where you're going. And if you're using the air conditioning, then make sure that it is properly gassed and that it is working as it should, because there is nothing worse than just using the compressor of the air conditioning and not getting any of the benefit. Okay, all these tips and tricks work very well when you have the time to prepare and everything is going according to plan. But in winter, it is also more likely that you will, I don't know, might face an emergency on the road. Are you then prepared for those? And then when it comes down to emergency preparation, of course, it is going to grate a lot depending on your circumstances. If you are just driving around the city streets of Auckland, such as myself, maybe everything that you need is just a jumper cable and making sure that your spare tire is in good working order. But then on the other hand, if you're driving down to the South Island and the snow-capped mountains and the ski stations, first of all, I envy you. But then on the other hand, you also have to think about chains for your tires, and then of course, just making sure that you are snow prepped, because should things go out of control when you are out there, of course you want to make sure that you are reachable and that you have things such as a torch or a blanket inside of your car just to make sure that you are fully safe. It is nothing too complicated. It's just making sure that you are not caught off guard should anything go out of your control, because it's not like winter is out there to get you. It is just highlighting things that have been neglected for the remainder of the year, and it will just really bring those to the surface very quickly. So yeah, there you have it. Just like that, you can get your car winter prepped, and then maybe, just maybe, winter will fly past just as quickly as summer did, and then in no time, we will be talking about better days.
Finally, the EV you've been waiting for. Advanced technology with proven off-road capability for wherever, whenever. Suzuki e-Vitara, adventure charged.
It's time for the news, and now with March just wrapping up, I think we need to talk about just the traffic on the roads, right? It seemed like everybody and their dogs and their uncles and whatever decided I'm going to go to work at the same time as everyone else, and it just made for congested roads.
Yeah, absolutely. It is crazy out there. And if you go to our website, there's a report on there that actually says that Auckland is ranking in the top 10 of congested roads right now, or the report goes, and we're losing 8.5 days of our lives in traffic, and or in just stuck in traffic. And I feel like that's happened this week. I've lost 8 days this week in just being stuck and looking at the back of another car.
Yeah, it definitely is coming back to that point of the March Madness idea, which is something that I learned very quickly after moving to New Zealand. It is a real thing, and come on, this March has been pretty mad, I can tell you that. But at this point, it's been so crazy every single month that it's almost like a monthly madness. Just pick your month, and all of them are becoming worse by the day.
Yeah, I just find that even like used to be rush hour, like 8 in the morning till 9 and 4 until 5 until 6 or something like that. Now it seems to start at 2 in the afternoon and goes on till 7. And I don't know, I don't get up early anyway, so I don't know what happens in the morning, but it's just horrific. So moving around town and stuff like that, you have to really plan your day now, especially coming from one part of Auckland all the way across to the other part, because I'm really unorganized.
I'm not sure what you're grumbling about, because you work from home as well, right? So you don't even have to go anywhere.
I tell you, getting from the bedroom to the living room, it's surprising how many obstacles come up. It's crazy.
I think a good solution for that sort of traffic and the chaos on the roads is a luxury van or a luxury MPV. And because they just seem to isolate you from the world around. And I have to say, honestly, I thought those were dead, but it seems like they're having a real comeback at the moment. I mean, Mercedes just launched their VLE. We've had, Volvo bring out the EM90, the Zeekr, the GAC, Denza as well. You're a bit of a nut about these type of vehicles, right?
Absolutely. I'm a big activist for everyone driving around in luxury minivans. It is such a cool idea that you're right. At a certain point, they were almost dead, especially when you're considering the Western markets. But they have always been very, very important in Asia, especially in places that are very congested, and that sometimes most of the times, the owner is not actually on the driver's seat. So they get someone to be driving them around while they are at the back, just taking care of their stocks portfolio or their real estate portfolio and making deals. And when you can do that, and with massage seats and a big TV to check on whatever it is that you are checking out, it just makes that whole idea of sitting in traffic all that much more easy to handle. So I'm all for them. And for Mercedes, it is absolutely on brand.
But I used to take a Mercedes, a chauffeured Mercedes to work, and that was the bus. Yeah. And you'd sit next to somebody who was, nose dribbling and coughing all over the place. So
probably with a criminal record.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I'd be able to watch my phone and stuff like that. So it's not like it hasn't been done here before, but yeah, you're right. There's a lot more.
Talk about a people mover.
Yeah, a lot to be said about these luxurious vehicles. And I think there's a lot more brands getting into it and making them more accessible price-wise as well, because you used to have, was it the Valfire or something like that, which was incredibly expensive and imported. Now you're getting the same sort of luxury or even more luxury for a third of the price, or 2/3 of the price, I guess, which is great. And these seats that you can just relax on and get somebody else to drive, I'm all for it, actually.
And then there's brands now that are working with companies or software companies to do away with that driver element entirely. And Nissan have become the latest now to go down that path, as they've just entered an agreement with Uber to try out some AI technologies and things for robo-taxis, basically. And I mean, I hope they give us a choice from the fleet, because wouldn't you want to be sideways in a Nissan Z, even if you're not at the wheel?
I've seen the way you drive. You drive like a robo. No, I think it's, again, another great idea. To people that don't like driving, I don't really want to communicate with a taxi driver, so that's cool if it's a robot or something like that, or it's driving itself. I have no issue with that. But I have to say that they are not good with potholes or anything out of the ordinary. So if there's something that throws a curveball at them, I mean, you've got a story about this, but it just blows the whole thing. And 99% of the time, I'm sure they're fine and will just go about their business.
That's exactly what it is. For the majority of the scenarios, they have been trained to do that extremely well. But the moment that things just go out of what they have been trained for, they fall apart, and it's usually very catastrophic. So I have two very close friends that recently have been in Waymos in the west coast of the US, and they had incredible experience. It was really easy to get in and out. The car didn't do anything crazy. But very recently we had that story where the car just literally drove through a police standoff. People who were staying out with their guns out, and this big thing was happening, and then just that Waymo driving across the whole thing. And the person inside, that they have absolutely nothing that they can do in order to avoid that situation from happening. And of course you have the other things as well, like the car dropping you on the other side of the building, and the blocks are just so massive. If you have to walk, the experience is not perfect. So as we keep saying, they do a lot of the stuff right so that you can then trust the system, but then the moment that it goes out of the track, quite literally, then it just becomes something that you have no power to fix.
It's pretty damn steep, Dan.
i4T hybrid intelligent four-wheel drive. Only at GWM. Go with more.
So it's day 2 and we're heading out again on the road. This time we're starting off in a Denza B5. Yesterday we had drive time in both the B5 and the B8. And what's interesting to note straight away is how similar both are and how they remind you of the Shark especially. And of course there's no surprise there because the architecture is from the Shark. And actually, a fun fact, it was a Denza architecture that was actually developed first and then applied to the Shark. So that sort of ladder frame with the blade battery integrated into it for extra strength is what you'll find underneath both the B5 and the B8. Key differences: the B5 is a 5-seater SUV, the B8, well, that's available as a 6-seater and a 7-seater. And first impressions so far have been pretty good. So Denza are promising that these are luxury vehicles, and I mean, everywhere you generally touch, you find soft touch materials. You have Napa leather and the more sort of higher spec models.
I'm still suffering from a bit of kangaroo paranoia, so we're just going to take it nice and easy this week.
As you can see, we are obviously in Australia, so no surprises there. Watching out for kangaroos. But back to the car. So you'll find the general fit and finish is really nice, and these do tend to insulate you quite well from the road underneath. Obviously, being a ladder frame chassis, you find that every now and then there's sort of ruts and things that disturb the ride a little bit, but for the most part it's fairly compliant on the road, and handling obviously is a little bit wallowy on the faster corners, but again, all to be expected with this sort of setup. The feature list for both cars is really extensive. So I mentioned about the Napa leather already. They have dual panoramic sunroofs. You've got the 2 front seats, which are heated, ventilated, have massaging functions as well. There is a fridge underneath the central armrest here, which goes all the way down to -6 degrees, and I think up to about 6 or 8 degrees as well. So whether you want to keep your pies warm or cold, there's options for both. The key thing to note so far with the driving especially is that the driver monitor can be a little bit annoying at times, so it tends to speak to you quite a bit when you're not looking at it, or not looking at the road in particular. Although turning it off is fairly easy, and you can actually use the search function in the infotainment screen as well, just to find your way and turn that off. Speaking of the infotainment screen, actually, it's got, well, it is the largest unit in any BYD or Denza product. So in the B8 in particular, it's about 17.5 inches. So a really massive screen that sits atop the dashboard there. Screen is a little bit more compact in this one, the B5, but still has plenty of real estate there for whether you want to bring up CarPlay or Android Auto. It'll display just fine. And note that they have also ditched the party trick, which the Atto 3 had, where you could flip the screen around. So that's gone, it's now fixed in place, but very sharp resolution and quite easy to use as well once you've got familiar with the basics of it. So over the course of yesterday, we spent about 600 kilometers on the road, sharing both the B5 and the B8, and both cars promise not just a comfortable on-road experience, but a very capable off-road experience. And that's what we're going to do today, is to test that aspect of it out. So these cars have been relatively clean so far, but after today I don't think that's going to be the case anymore. So let's get to it.
So it's very clear at this point that BYD are no stranger to just spinning up a new brand for different things that they want to try out in different markets, right? But it's really cool to see that they are doubling down on a platform that we know works quite well with the Shark and everything that that vehicle is so capable of. So it looks like a very cool experience, and even better that you didn't get to crash into any kangaroos.
I have to say, to your point now, I've only ever driven in Sydney before, and driving, towards the Red Centre in South Australia, there's miles of road where you just look straight ahead and there's no turns, nothing. You don't see the water anywhere. It's very different to, our country and where we drive. So thankful not to hit kangaroos, but they are a real nuisance, especially when the sun goes down. I'm not sure what gets into them. They just want to run in front of your car on the road. But on the platform side, yes, what they've managed to do is have these large off-road 5 and 7-seater or 6-seater vehicles, but still somehow really efficient. I mean, both of them do sort of 10 liters per 100 Ks, and then can do 0 to 100 in like 5.8 or 6 seconds. Comfortable on the road, but extremely capable off-road. I don't know if you saw in the video, but the rocks were so sharp, and these things could climb that, these are 2.5, 3-ton vehicles on road tires, and they were still going up this stuff. Really impressive.
So there you have it. Matt's been across or hopped across the ditch and played with some Denzas. We've actually worked out how to best prep your car for winter, and also we've covered off how mad the road is for March Madness. Thanks for watching. See you next week. You even had your own TV channel, your own show 2 weeks ago. Gee, I wasn't even invited. You used a stunt double for me.
Well, what do you have? There was no space on the bed for a third person.
Oh, there's always space for me.
I go to work to rest because this is what I have to deal with on the weekends.
Kia ora and thanks for joining us. This week we've got quite a lot of no, don't want that, do I? Kia ora and thanks for joining us. This week is a bit eclectic.
While you are driving down the road. Cable is everything that you need, but then have the habit of changing you. So we are really playing on a thing where the actual age does not correlate.
No, exactly.
To what's here. And
so what do you mean? I'm saying I'm the youngest but the wittiest, or
no, the
wittiest.
That's a
the
really
most
playing really loose.
sophisticated.
no, stuck in some old timers.
okay.
Actually, yeah.
That's a better way to put it. All right, so it's very clear
Sorry,
that
I was
Bashing Bali. he was thinking about back then.
disassociated.
Finally, the EV you've been waiting for.
Advanced technology with proven off-road capability for wherever, whenever. Suzuki e-Vitara. Adventure charged.